Thirdly, he is to exercise discipline in the church along with the elders. As you know, this is a painful work. And again, the congregation probably will never know that. It can be very, very complicated and complex. It's never something that allows the pastor to win. He never wins in situations of discipline. It often leads people to anger and hate, and you're the butt of it all. We follow godly procedure, and it seems it's a never-winning solution, especially in the very confused and carefree days in which we live today. Someone may cause untold damage in a church and go down the street and join that one down the street. The pastor and the elders know that God sees it all. And he'll someday balance those scales. Lastly, the pastor is to lay down his life for the church. Rod, in a day when pastors and people separate every 2 or 3 years, the church seems always reeling from controversy and consternation. You know what I mean. You spent 18 years in New Hampshire devoting yourself to one church, devoting your life's work to that one church. The pastor is one who comforts his people like a father does his children. But there's an essential part of his life. He must be willing to die for the sake of the church. And I'm not just talking theory today. In our modern world, that's the case overseas. Every week, as Elder Mark brings to this congregation on Sunday evening, prayers for our brothers and sisters in foreign countries that are suffering or in prison. They seal, many times pastors do, they seal their calling with their own blood. And it's getting closer to home, isn't it, as the years go on. Someone says the willingness to die is not an option. It's the universal duty of all pastors. And Calvin says to defend the doctrine which they proclaim and shepherd the flock, even at the expense of their own lives. And if he has to seal the doctrine of the gospel with their own blood, that's the pastor's labor. There's also a profound sense of unworthiness that haunts the pastor. Haunts the one who occupies the office of pastoral experience. Well, I have a thing I cut out of one of the RTS magazines years ago, and I put it in the frame. It shows a picture of a pulpit chair, and it says, this is not a comfortable chair. It tells a story. I don't know if you remember that in the RTS magazine, but it struck me. That is indeed what pastoral experience is. But he understands that God calls the unworthy to occupy this place. The unworthy. As soon as we think we're worthy, we're finished. Calvin also pointed out that even if a pastor strain every nerve, he must come to admit of correction, he says, and improvement. You read that passage in 2 Timothy 4, 6 through 8. And this is a man, a real man, an old man, a tired man, a pastor in so many ways, that had fought a good fight, but finished the course and was looking forward to the crown. And I think our ministers don't focus enough on that crown. And And that's why we stumble. It's overwhelming to know, and you already know that, but we live in a glass house more than anyone else. But all must see in us, and this is what Calvin said, all must see in us a beautiful example of a Christian character. An example which is as easy to slander as it is difficult to imitate. I want to say that once more for all of us. The example of a Christian character which is as easy to slander as it is difficult to imitate. There's a scene that I have come to love so much in the life of Calvin on his deathbed. He called for the handful of pastors that he had kind of overseen down through the years, and he was very upset because he was kind of contemplating his own sin and his own misery at this time. And in tears he cried to them, apologizing to them because of his impatience and his lack of kindness and his abruptness over the years. And they cried together. And that was the last time those pastors were with Calvin. It's a beautiful picture of a deathbed scene of Christian men, servants of God. But they were men, and we're men. We have hearts, we have lives to give for Jesus' sake. The great Scott pastor, Alexander White, has left us with words that I would challenge this congregation with as Pastor Rod comes on and serves you and alongside of you. You might have seen it before. It's a little hard to hold up something like that for yourself before the people, but I can do it now with another man. Oh, poor and much to be pitied minister, he said. With Satan concentrating all of his fiery darts upon you, with the deep, sullen pillars of his seat not yet dug out of your hearts, with all of his 32 captains fighting all the time, day and night, for the remnants of their master's power within you, and all of the time a far greater than Satan running you through and through with that terrible sword of his until there is not a sound spot in you. O most forlorn and afflicted of all men, O bruised in your mind and most broken in your heart of all men, pray for your ministers, my brethren, and put up with much that you cannot as yet understand or sympathize within them. And never for a day forget to pray for them in secret and by name, and by the name of their inward battlefield. Do that for your minister for they have far harder beset life than you have any idea of, with both heaven and hell setting on them continually to the last drop of their blood. And he sobers up and he says, may my tongue cling to the roof of my mouth before I say a single word to turn some young man away from the ministry with my words, who is called of God to this awful work. At the same time, let all intended ministers count well the cost, lest haply, after they have laid the foundation, are not able to finish. Both men and devils will point at them and say, for eternity. But come and see the ruin he has left. Count well, I say again, whether or no they're able to finish. Those are powerful words by a great preacher and a great pastor.